Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Transform Customer Feedback into Customer Loyalty. We're so happy that you joined us this afternoon. I'm Lori Blanford, and I'm the Marketing Manager for Dunn Solutions Group, and I'll be the moderator for our webinar today. Our presenter is Ken Krausick. He is Senior Manager of our Predictive Analytics practice here at Dunn Solutions Group, and he's a longtime customer analytics professional with experience, with a lot of experience in loyalty analytics. So before we begin, I just want to make sure that everyone is familiar with how to submit questions. If you're interested in doing so, please take a look at the right-hand side of your screen where you'll find the questions panel. And then we will address those questions at the end of our presentation during the Q&A session. All right, so let's take a look at today's agenda. We're going to begin with a very brief overview of Dunn Solutions Group, and then I'm going to hand it over to Ken, and he is going to do a predictive analytics overview, introduce you to the practice, predictive analytics. He's going to speak specifically about the customer loyalty analytics practice, talk about measuring customer loyalty, discuss the Dunn Solutions Group Customer Loyalty Measurement Program, and then he'll conclude with a Q&A. All right, so briefly, Dunn Solutions Group is a full-service IT consulting firm. We were founded 22 years ago, and we design, develop, and deliver a wide range of solutions using a variety of advanced tools. And we deliver solutions worldwide with offices in Chicago, Minneapolis, Raleigh, Fort Lauderdale, and Bangalore, India. Our offerings fall into three practice areas: application development solutions, and that includes custom application development, e-commerce, portals, and web design. Secondly, business intelligence solutions, and predictive analytics falls under that practice, and it includes end-to-end BI solutions, dashboards, reporting and analytics, and other advanced BI capabilities. And thirdly, package solutions, which include software services offerings for specific vertical markets or unique needs. In addition, we do offer training solutions, which spans those three areas and includes classroom, on-site, and custom training. Our customers include some of the biggest names in business. We also have robust state and local government as well as nonprofit experience. All right, so that was the brief. I promised it would be brief, right? Dunn Solutions Group overview, and at this point I'm going to hand it over to Ken Krausick. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Lori. All right, hello everybody. Moving into predictive analytics, business intelligence, and loyalty. What we see in front of us is assessing maturity in regard to business intelligence. So a little bit about predictive analytics, but first back up to, we had a lot of experience with organizations throughout many industries, and we recognize that they go through a series of stages as they mature through their use of business intelligence. The first stage is mostly tactical, as companies use reports to help run their day-to-day business. These reports typically inform of things like sales, margin, inventory, sales commissions, typically coming from the transactional systems. Moving on, managers and business executives want to have the ability to ask ad hoc questions, try to figure out why things are happening. So they move on to the analysis phase, which often leads to the need for a data warehouse to help better facilitate the analysis. Once leadership has a good idea of what their goals are, they can move to the next phase of monitoring, establishing the key performance indicators, checking how they're doing against those indicators. More mature organizations create these KPIs at each level of the company, share performance goals, results with all the employees, load the data back into the data warehouse, and continues to monitor them as time goes on. Now, what we heard is basically looking in the rearview mirror, what has happened, what is currently happening in sort of some report or dashboard. So with predictive analytics, it is answering the question, what if you could look into the future? What area of the business would you explore? What would you change in regard to your strategy or tactics? Well, Predictive analytics, it can allow organizations to model those outcomes and make predictions that inform business decisions. What we've noticed is that most companies are probably making decisions on gut feel alone, when in reality they may be based on ideas and metrics that are no longer true. Sometimes it's not evident what the factors are that influence the business outcome. This is when predictive analytics can improve your decision-making ability by providing fact-based solutions. Predictive analytics provides the greatest business value because it's a process that identifies the very complex and mathematical forms of data relationships to improve customer-to-business interactions. Later on, we'll talk in regard to some modeling procedures that get into that mathematical forms of data relationships. The core of predictive analytics, though, relies on capturing the relationships between the KPIs and their predicted variables from past occurrences. Predictive analytics is the process of discovering those hidden patterns in data to improve business performance and proactively gain a competitive edge to identify the different dimensions in regard to predicting events, trends, understanding activities, and understanding that strategic value of the data in your data warehouse. For example, you may want to predict the expected demand for a line of products or services in order to allocate resources for, let's say, manufacturing or distribution. Planning decisions takes time to implement, so forecasts are an essential tool in many processes. A lot of data sets have to be integrated, cleansed, and we move on to methods of modeling time series. It assumes that the history repeats itself. You can make better decisions in the future using statistical modeling techniques. You can determine a range within future values, how the series will fall. The result is more accurate forecasts on which to base your decisions. The modeling procedures are ones that you can use multiple pieces of the business versus just a couple pieces of the business in a report or a dashboard. So really, from industry to industry, the relative importance of factors that affect modeling will differ somewhat. If your business isn't one-size-fits-all, neither are the reasons that demand for your products and services fluctuate. So this is why we explore multiple methods to create several different models. So if you know, or for sure we have experience with various problems and processes throughout an organization that predictive analytics can resolve or improve. Now, all the problems can't be solved by just using one modeling solution, which is why when using predictive analytics, we often leverage several different techniques. It's accomplished by decomposing the historical data to identify risks and opportunities using these varying levels of analytical modeling techniques. They vary from classification modeling or segmentation and also association modeling. In today's webinar, we'll be focusing on using predictive analytics to explore the measurement of customer loyalty, its value, and how it can help improve the several planning processes throughout the business. Now, what you have to ask yourself is, how is your organization using its customer feedback program to measure loyalty? So the question always is about loyalty is how to define it, how to measure it, and how to move forward with it in regard to creating loyalty as a KPI. So I'm sure everyone has wondered what loyalty is. Well, it's probably just as difficult to understand what financial freedom is or what love is. Well, we have experience identifying loyalty in regard to different customer interactions of the relationship building behaviors, expectations of the quality of the businesses, and the many products and services. Loyalty is definitely going to be different for different people, in different organizations. So what we have to think is that loyalty can be thought of as a perception of relying upon another to be thoughtful of their needs, and by building this mutual trust between the customer and the organization. So loyalty, the bottom line is loyalty can be created by consistently meeting the customer's expectations and building an honest, healthy relationship. So as we know, organizations, their behaviors and deliverables are judged by customers. So these judgments of quality are created by how closely we come to meeting a customer's perceived needs. So the satisfaction leads to gratification when their needs and expectations are met. Another determinant of loyalty is focused on reasons and motivations for future behavior. This is known as intention. Intentions measure conscious decision-making based on beliefs, abilities, attitudes, and motivation. The third, retention, is another part of loyalty that is a composite of satisfaction and intention. It's the repeated act of a customer to continue to shop or visit based upon an organization's ability to consistently meet and exceed the customer's expectations. So we ask, well, why do we care about loyalty, I guess? How can it help the organization? How is it going to help achieve our revenue goals, profit goals? Well, what if we do believe that it is going to help? We just really haven't investigated at the time, and we understand that it's going to help our retention strategies. There are some challenges that businesses have to overcome, and it's a lot about, does your company assume that your customers are already satisfied? And if they are satisfied, does that mean that they are loyal? So again, you have to investigate how effective is your customer feedback programs. How are they measuring loyalty? Are you just getting reports of that they're satisfied, that they're having high expectations that are met? Well, customer loyalty is something that companies invest a lot to achieve. These efforts are often misguided, though, because the true drivers of loyalty have not been identified. What we've noticed, what we mean is that the real loyalty drivers are the products, the services, and the experiences that attract and retain loyal customers. So your organization has probably been successful to some point, or else it would not have been grown as much as it has to date. Loyalty programs are typically an exhaustive effort to satisfy the customers. These are the loyalty programs that are based upon a discounting using purchase patterns. And the success of the program could be based upon a response rate, or maybe a redemption rate, or some sort of margin dollars from a coupon or discount. Now, not knowing what the effect is of the coupon, it's typically taken that what the report says about the coupon really classifies their loyalty program as being successful or not. However, the benefit of allocating the funds to improve the products and services is really not captured by just using transactional data. So this is the reason we dig a little deeper, and we want to show you how a customer loyalty measurement program transforms loyalty into a valuable KPI that drives change to the business with a higher ROI than a loyalty program in regard to a discounting program. So let's begin to digest loyalty a little bit further in regard to some of the benefits. So you would love to know if all your customers were truly loyal. So what if you become their sole provider for the goods and services you sell? These loyal customers are so convinced that you carry the best variety of product, you have the most professional staff, they love the appearance of your stores. The best part is they quickly tell the whole world how awesome your products and services are, essentially becoming advocates that provide unsolicited referrals, is something that each business should tend to achieve. The result is that your customers are spending more of their shopping dollars with you, telling their social network to shop with you, and loyalty has typically been correlated with an increase in new customer growth, higher retention rates, and for sure higher profit. Just analyzing customer loyalty, a company seems to grow in regard to profits, and the employees would benefit by attending company-funded training classes and conferences, given that the company may invest a little more money into the employees if they are making more money. The associates would, build some new skills, have more of a positive attitude, introduce more high-quality products and services, and less likely to move on to another company. So increase your employee retention as well. Now let's move on to the process to measure loyalty. So today we're going to focus on a best practices loyalty measurement program featuring the design and execution of specialized surveys to collect the voice of the customer, to report the survey results, also to analyze customer behaviors and identify loyalty drivers, and lastly, to present the loyalty drivers to the business, create action, create projects to help allocate the appropriate funds to increase loyalty, to understand where we should invest in the business in order to improve our loyalty, to increase our profits. So, survey design phase, the content is created by basically targeting the customer satisfaction, intention, and retention in regard to defining loyalty, as well as the preferences, opinions, and expectations of the quality and performance of your business. So it's typically designed for a specific audience based upon the structure of your business. So it's not always the same survey design for every project. The design is most likely unique for every business, even in the same industry, and would be tailored to the method of the deployment, either deployment by your company, possibly by a third-party deployment company, or by us. So next are some questions that address some of the areas to measure, to create the loyalty KPI. So these are 8 questions. They're pretty typical in survey analytics, represent the most prevalent determinants of loyalty. Also when compared to the results from the questions about the performance and expectations of products and services. So the 8 questions will determine a dimension of loyalty for each respondent. What I mean is that the first 3 questions address the customer's judgment against the company's behavior and deliverables. So this represents a level of satisfaction. Now the next 3 questions, highlighted in gray, represent more of an intentions perspective. This is more inward-looking or focusing on reasons customers choose a different set of products or suppliers, more technical in regard to understanding what the product is and why am I buying it. And lastly, this is the retention piece. It's a retention perspective. It targets the customer to allow us to understand an overall rating of the customer's expectations and really how confident they are in the company and trying to shop all the time with you so that you are the sole provider of their shopping needs and behaviors. So once the emails are deployed, the results come back. They represent the customer's opinions, preferences, and expectations in numbers. We have information that we can use to analyze the customers, the voice of the customer. So this enables a company to collect their thoughts and study their dynamics. It's the customer's interpretation through this voice of the customer of an organization to attempt to fulfill their expectations that allow us to measure the concept called loyalty. So the customer's expectations may range from how responsive your company is to their issues, to having a reasonable return policy. So the steps we take focus on identifying patterns in the customer's thoughts by applying statistical models and classifying those thoughts into groups or buckets that measure loyalty. So the questions throughout the survey can have choices that range from not likely, likely to extremely likely, or different levels of satisfaction, performance, or any sort of preference level. So the reporting phase for the customer loyalty measurement program will include tables, charts of the results, comparisons of different groups within the sample. This level of analytics produces most commonly used statistics, well, to figure out how satisfied or loyal a customer is. But for this program, the next level of analytics is an advanced level to study the customer shopping behaviors. Now, you've probably heard terms, if not, here are some in regard to advanced analytics called correlations, factor analysis, regression, any sort of time series or modeling terms. Techniques like these are how the program can pretty much dynamically calculate a metric that represents loyalty. It's based upon multiple facets of a business and also the customer's beliefs and behaviors. So it's a lot of information from the two different perspectives. Techniques we use can crunch those numbers, all the various elements simultaneously, and create the most comprehensive metric. So for instance, here are the 8 questions. Looking at the determinants that define loyalty, we addressed the relationship between the 8 in regard to satisfaction, intention, and retention. So there's a factor analysis studies. It understands the variation in the responses, how different the responses are, that is, between the 8 questions, and identifies the questions with similar patterns of observed responses. So it looks at which questions were responded in the same manner and buckets them together. So this analysis will condense those 8 into an equal or lesser amounts referred to as factors. So this is more of a called classification modeling technique. So each respondent will have a score or some sort of most likely or likely score for each of the different factors. And the highest score will fall into one of the 3 buckets. Now, for instance, there exists a high correlation between the responses for level of satisfaction, customer recommendation, choose again, and purchase the same. So these 4 drivers are most important to one of our customer segments. If they are, we'll label them as being affective. The next slide will look at more of a detailed understanding of the reasoning behind those 4 different determinants. The next 3, highlighted in gray, represent intention. That perspective, we call them more of cognitive, more technical. And then there's the retention group in regard to switching or not switching in some sort of a percentage basis. So 3 dimensions were calculated based upon the advanced analytics. And the questions in the first category appear to reference more emotions and feelings. These are the customers that are very pleased, very involved in promoting your business. They're advocates. They'll increase your customer growth because they'll tell everyone that you know or everyone they know that you have the latest brands, the most appealing store, and so forth. But the second category is based around customers purchasing more, changing preferences through the process of thought. So they're customers that evaluate every product, identify variety, observe when products change, when they're moved around in the store. They seem to have the knowledge from the experience of buying different products. So a lot of cross and upsell opportunities would be good for this group. So they would continue to purchase on a regular basis, but different products. So the third category is retention. Implies the customer's well beyond satisfaction, chooses to continue, buying your products and services, and really just has been and will purchase from you for a long, long time. Now, once we have this information, these 3 different dimensions of loyalty, as well as some of the products and services that the customers really have a preference about and expectations, we have to take action. Now, what we mean is we need to understand from this loyalty measurement program is that does your staff carry a positive attitude? Do you have an accurate product information? How much do your customers care about your products or service selection and availability? How often are they referring friends to you? And as far as how consistent are your services? So the level of quality of your products and services is very important to your success. So it's often critical to measure the quality of your business so that you can have a handle on what is doing well versus poorly. So quality is defined as the difference between expectations against performance and can be interpreted differently by different people. So it's important to understand expectations against performance is something that we're going to highly investigate. In this phase, we take action. I mean that the analysis will determine the specific area of the business that should be improved for you to increase customer loyalty. In this approach, we would work with business owners and guide them toward the areas of the business that would be best to allocate funds in order to improve performance and meet the expectations of the customers. Hence, making them happy, reaching a point of retention in regard to purchasing without even thinking about other stores. So the level of your quality and services is very important to your success. It's often critical to measure the quality of your business so that you have a handle on what is doing well. Here are some quality drivers in regard to different dimensions, where we have availability, variety, and functionality around your products and services. And there's also an engagement piece with professionalism, friendliness, and handling issues. Operations, there's definitely an opinion about return policy, appearance of the building, and business hours. So we measure these 9 quality dimensions, and we obtain the information from the customers through the survey. So our intent is to compare the quality performance against the derived importance to loyalty. So our end goal is to identify that quality attribute that has the greatest effect on loyalty. So we make this happen by comparing the performance rating and the importance to identify the quality dimensions that are above and below the average rating or importance. Therefore, 4 different dimensions of loyalty is something that we investigate. So the most important quality drivers, for instance, on loyalty are those scored with very high importance and very low performance. So we call them more of an opportunity quality driver. There's an area of the business that we investigate and we can allocate funds to so that we can improve the performance and meet the expectations of the customer. So the quality drivers that are scored very low with importance and very high with performance are called bonus drivers. So they're performing very well even though they are least important to the customer. So you can see that we can isolate specific areas of the business that will increase loyalty and lead to higher profits. And also to examine the areas of the business that are underperforming that may be over-allocated in funds. So the bottom line is that the customer loyalty measurement program is designed to improve retention strategies. So when we get to the key drivers of loyalty, we understand which ones they are. It's important to identify the loyalty dimension that is in line with the goals of your company. So here's a relationship between business goals and the loyalty dimensions expressed by correlation analysis. So if the goal is new customer growth, the data suggests that effective loyalty is your target area, and you should focus on friendliness, variety, and professionalism. On the other hand, if your goal is year-over-year revenue, then you want to focus on handling issues, addressing your variety of products and services. It's intuitive for sure with retention loyalty. It's the best fit to decrease the churn rate. For this, the variety and return policy are key drivers. So the process is really improving quality drivers to increase your loyalty. Now, so today we need to understand how do we get there in regard to the customer loyalty measurement program. So there is focus on companies investing time and money to fulfill a program in regard to increasing loyalty, to increase higher profits. What they typically do is purchase the software, go through training, there's some data acquisition and reporting, and typically work with an organization to help them roll out the program, possibly do a pilot project with a few different sections of the organization, and work with that company to mentor and consider rolling out some services on a daily, weekly, or any quarterly basis, depending on the business and the industry. So there is possibility to outsource the entire program with us. We can run your entire loyalty program in regard to tapping into your database and working with you to understand who your customers are, presenting different scenarios of modeling techniques, why we are targeting certain individuals, certain stores, or certain areas of the country. So this is something that we can work together to help improve customer loyalty within your business. So this is really how we do it. The Predictive Analytics team here, we leverage online survey platform, and we collect and analyze the customer feedback. It's based upon any time frame that you're interested in receiving the feedback, and what means you want to present this survey to the customers. So we capture the customer's opinions, the preferences, and the expectations. We report the results, analyze how they combine together to create the loyalty levels. Finally, identify the products, services, and experiences that are the key loyalty drivers. So companies can then introduce retention, marketing, sales, and also customer service strategies that incorporate these key loyalty drivers and effectively result in more loyal customers and increased business. So by investing time and money to understand your customer, there's a lot to benefit from in regard to having customers become more advocates, spreading the word. Like I said, the new customers are going to hear more from the other customers that are really satisfied. There's strategies behind retention that you can implement in regard to marketing and sales, especially inbound and outbound sales. Throughout the whole process, allocating the right funds, reducing the cost, producing higher profits, and really satisfying the employee. You can even turn a program into employee loyalty, just to understand, from the employee's perspective. So we have an area of question and answers. I've gone through the material in regard to the the measurement program. And let's just see, does anybody have any questions? If you do, you can type a message.
All right, it doesn't appear that anyone has any questions at this time. So we will conclude today's webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. We certainly hope that that you found the time spent with Ken and the customer loyalty measurement presentation helpful and informative. And we invite you to reach out to us if there are any additional questions you may have, or if you're interested in learning more about the program. All right. On behalf of everyone at Dunn Solutions, thank you very much. Have a great day.